Okay, so I have a video here for how to update an Arcos 70 or an Arcos 101 to the newer Android firmware 2.2. I'm going to be showing you how to do that on a Mac. However, it's almost exactly the same process on a PC or even on a Linux machine. So I've already downloaded the firmware, and I've got my Arcos connected to the power outlet, which they suggest doing anytime you're going to do a firmware update. And I'm going to plug in the USB cable to the Arcos. It's already plugged into the Mac, and the Arcos will then give me a prompt asking me if I'd like to mount it as a mount it or don't mount, and that's for the USB connected. And basically all that does is if you mount it, it turns it into a flash drive that you can connect to your computer. So over on the Mac screen, we should see this show up. It just popped up, and it also sees it as a camera, so it pops up the iPhoto, which I'll go ahead and close here. But it shows up in Finder as an A101T for the 101 model, and if you're using a 70, it'd be an A70S. So I've got my, I've already navigated to the folder where my firmware is, and the firmware file is actually already on the Arcos, so I'll probably get a prompt asking me if I want to overwrite it. But basically, you click on the firmware file and drag that over to the A101T. Now, if you have a PC, you can do the same thing, or you can do a copy and then a paste. So as you can see, it's copying. It's a fairly small file. Copies in less than a minute. It's 84.8 megabytes. So you got 10 seconds to go here. And once it's done, on the Mac, they recommend unmounting any USB flash drive. On a PC with XP or higher, you probably don't have to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and press the eject button on the Mac, and that ejects it from the flash. And then over on the Arcos screen, up in the top left corner, you'll see a little USB icon. Hold your thumb down on that, and then drag down, and you can click on Turn Off USB Storage Device. They made it a little bit. There's probably an easier way to do this, but made it a little bit tricky. So I just click it there, and then I'll go ahead and unplug the USB cable. It gives you a little pop-up on the 101 saying updating multimedia library. So it's the same process if you're going to be adding any MP3s to the Arcos. You just would navigate to the music folder. So now I'm going to click on Files, which is the file manager for the Arcos. I'll scroll down to the firmware, which is at the bottom. Click that with my finger, then we'll get a prompt for firmware update. Do you want to update your device with the firmware update file? And then it gives you the name of the file, and I'll go ahead and click OK. Make sure my power is properly connected here. And now it's going to update the firmware. So that'll take about a minute or so to do that. It's checking the file for validity. Update file is okay. Asks you to reboot. Go ahead and click reboot. Tells you it's powering off, shutting down. It warns you not to unplug the power cable. And there's a little progress bar at the bottom. One word of caution is make sure that your Arcos is totally backed up, because I'm quite certain that this will erase all applications. It'll probably leave your media there, but just to be careful, just make sure you have everything backed up. So this was actually a brand new device that I just opened this morning, so I had nothing to back up, but just a word of caution. Says update's okay, and then the device will reboot again. So it says transition to Android 2.2, which is called Froyo. This is the first time you're running Android version 2.2. It is highly recommended to reset the device configuration to optimize your Archos. The extra applications that you may have installed need to be reinstalled. Your multimedia files will not be affected. I'm going to go ahead and click the reset as they recommend here. So it'll power off again. And then just in case it asks me to recalibrate the gyro, I'm going to move this to a flat position. So it just formatted the disk, says please wait. So that's the partition for the firmware. So the partition with the media, according to that warning they just gave, the media should not be affected, but I would back it up anyway just in case. So setting up data says it's done, so it should boot up here in another second. So it's rebooting. Get to see a lot of the Archos entertainment your way. So it does the language change. I'm just going to keep clicking next. Well, it does calibrate, so it's a good thing it's flat. And that should be it. Okay, so now it's running 2.2, and you will see a couple differences, of course. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install the Google Marketplace. So I'll plug it back into the USB one more time. And it should ask me to mount. Looks like it's already mounted. Maybe not. Okay, so I just disconnected the USB and connected it one more time, and the mount prompt popped up this time. So I'll click mount. As you can see, the mount prompt is a little bit different here, and it looks like they made it much easier to turn the USB back off. So I'll go back to my Finder. I have a folder with the firmware. So it's G apps for Archos 2. That's for the Google market. So I'll just again drag this over to the A101T or A70S. Drop it in. So you just want it in the root. You don't want to put it in the music folder or anything else. Go ahead and turn off USB storage back on the Archos. Hit cancel for the mount question again, and then we'll go back to our unplug the USB so it doesn't keep popping up. Go back to Files, and you'll scroll to G apps for Archos 2. Click on that, and then it asks you, do you want to install this application? Go ahead and click install. It goes through the installation process for Google Apps, and this will give you the much talked about marketplace. It says application installed. I'll click done and go back to the home screen. And Google Apps for Archos, so you can run this from here by clicking. And it says install Google applications. Go ahead and click that. And just follow the prompts. Okay, so I just rebooted the device. In an interest of saving time on the video, I didn't bother to show that in the video here. So after you reboot, it asks you to add a Google account. Asks you if you want to back up your Google account. Just click Finish Setup here. And you go back into your applications, and as you can see, there's a lot more applications that have shown up now. So there's the Market application, there's Maps, Places, Search, there's a bunch of different things. So hopefully this video was helpful in getting you up and running with the new firmware and installing the Google applications, and enjoy your Android product.